Hail Internet, it's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here today talking about the first episode of the new DC show on HBO, The Penguin. The episode entitled, After Hours. We open with news footage catching us up on the ending of the Batman movie. The Riddler blew up the Gotham seawall, flooding parts of the city. He also murdered the mob boss, Carmine Falcone, leaving Falcone's son, Alberto, in charge. And the Riddler is now behind bars. We then see Oz Cobb, the Penguin, played by an unrecognizable Colin Farrell. If you saw the Batman, you already know what to expect. But
I saw the Batman. I recognized him.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, that's Colin Farrell. But there's just nothing of Colin Farrell in the look or speech of the Penguin. It's amazing. Anyway, I keep looking for it, like, okay, if I see the eyes, no, you don't. Anyway, we see Oz breaking into Carmine Falcone's safe at the Iceberg Lounge. Alberto, our new kingpin, catches him doing so. Oz does some fast talking to reassure Alberto that he was just getting the items for Alberto. They talk. Alberto makes fun of Oz's ambition, his vision of the future as his gracious mob boss beloved by the people.
The beneficent mob boss.
And so Oz takes offense at being mocked and shoots and kills the current head of organized crime in Gotham, and immediately regrets what he just did. And that act propels the episode, and I assume the season, really. It's like, okay, sure, you just killed the most important figure in crime in Gotham. We end with Oz's plan to save himself, at least temporarily, come to fruition. With the help of his new sidekick recruit, Vic, Oz frames the Maroni family for Alberto's murder. And just in the nick of time, because he's in the process of being tortured to death by Sophia Falcone when his ruse takes effect. Okay, sure. So, all that said, Paul.
Yes?
What'd you think of episode 1 of The Penguin?
This had a lot of hype coming into it, and I thought it lived up to the hype. You know, one thing, though, obviously many people are familiar with Batman and his rogues gallery.
Yep.
And so, one thing I am not happy about is, in this world of Batman, there's no Superman, there's no Justice League, no Green Lantern. And so, you know, I think that's shitty. It doesn't make me dislike the show. You know, it's just sort of like, okay, cool.
I mean, are we sure that's the case? Or is it just that they're not being mentioned?
He said it.
Okay.
He said that.
So it is the case.
He sees it, yeah. I mean, you know, it amazes me. You know, I've known people who didn't know that Spider-Man was in the same universe with all these other people because all they know is him from the movies.
Oh, sure. So, okay.
You know, but, you know, you review the show that you've seen. I liked, I would say they did a better job with Oz Cobb.
Yeah.
why they couldn't be Cobblepot, I don't know, but I guess he's not very English.
He is not English, and that's true. We'll talk about that, but that is a difference for sure.
Although Colin is, but anyway,
Irish, but yeah,
Irish, yeah, he could have been Irish. They made him a mob boss, and that was clever. You know, it's you know, in the world of Batman, yes, they've had Falcones and they've had Maronis and all this other stuff, yep. But those just are, you know, Italian villains. I mean, it's just, you know, those are just regular mob bosses. So making the Penguin into a mob boss that's more than just, you know, some guy running around an umbrella with some, you know, that worked, you know, with his. I would say he's more sympathetic and makes more of sense as a character than the Joker. I mean, that was interesting to watch.
In the Christopher Nolan Batman, which has the same issue, I think, that you were just complaining about, where it was kind of a world where Batman is pretty much exists in a vacuum.
Yeah, I mean, you could also have said though that at that time they weren't really trying to create, a world at that point, So it's drawn well. I like the character. I like the actor, playing it. Kristen Milioti, I really like her. She was great in the. We reviewed.
We did two productions. Palm Springs with Andy Samberg, and also she was in the Star Trek parody episode of Black Mirror.
Oh,
USS
right.
Callister, which I saw is going to get a sequel actually in the next season of Black Mirror. So anyway, but she's fantastic.
Right. That's right. Yeah, she's really great. So she's great in this.
Crazy.
Yeah, she really does. So and
you got Clancy Brown.
Yeah.
The Kurgan, baby.
They got Mark Strong in this show. They've got a lot of great cast members on the show.
Yeah.
So while there are elements you could sort of see, like, especially with the relationship between Cobb and his mom, in a way, I was like, obviously it's more supportive than, say, Tony Soprano and his mom, but
right, but there's a Soprano-esque quality to it for sure.
Yeah.
He loves his mom. There's obviously a bond there, but then she's also given him theoretically kind of seemingly bad advice. And then she has dementia. My mom actually has Alzheimer's. It's a tragic illness without a cure. So I empathize with how that affects Oz's relationship with his mom. When she says she's getting the boys out of the tub, we are brought into this world where she's very reliant on him, and maybe she needs more round-the-clock care, frankly, than just being left alone in a house. It grounds him. It gives him the sense of humanity that here's this mom that he really cares about. In his own way. So
yeah, and then he can't lie to. So he's telling her.
And he can't lie to her, right?
He says it more baldly than he said it to the person that he brought into the crime itself.
I should point out we watched the first episodes of The Penguin and Agatha all along in order to choose which show to recap. I liked Agatha. I think you liked Agatha as well.
Yeah.
But I really liked The Penguin. And again, we're just basing it on the first episodes. In a typical month, we'd be doing an Agatha recap right now. But on this occasion, we're riding with The Penguin. And one of the things that I particularly liked about this, and there have been productions that have found a way to do this effectively, but it's that Oz is constantly on the verge of being he's found out and violently killed. Like, his ability to adapt on the fly and create this cohesive web of lies just to stay alive for like another hour or two. It's fun to watch this tightrope he's on, which is all started with him murdering Alberto. So anyway, but it's fun to watch him in real time try to stay alive with his wits. We're kind of in a time period where we see a lot of these, like, hey, we're going to show you the villain of some piece, but they're not really a villain. They're just misunderstood. I mean, he's not a good guy. I mean,
no, he's not.
He has a violent temper. He runs a drug operation.
Yeah.
When he's told the drugs have been contaminated, he's quite content to sell them on the street anyway. That's fine. They want them. All right, they're going to pay. He essentially kidnaps Vic for the evening.
Yes.
Intending to let Vic do the physical work that he can and then kill him.
Yeah.
So he's it's not like, it's just he's a good guy trapped in a thing. I think, no, this guy has some moral issues. But he's
but
also
I think
the underdog, right?
I think they're doing. Yeah, I think they're learning the lesson of a lot of gangster movies like Goodfellas, where you show the reality of it, but there's a bit of romance in sort of how he's, he has this grand vision of what this great sort of gangster figure is supposed to be. And
he idolizes this Rex Calabrese, at least his image of this former gangster Rex Kellerman, who I guess is in the comics as well. But
Right.
just the idea of like, oh, this guy was beloved by they held a parade, and he was like, everybody loved him, and that's the, this idea of like some, benevolent ruler guy.
Yeah, and you could see that as a sort of, Vito Corleone kind of ideal.
Yep.
Where everybody loved him, and he was trying to be, and of course the theme there was how immigrants were, excluded from the American dream, and so they had to sort of come up with their own. And you had that sort of class, distinctions in this one too, where they're talking about the Falcone family, with their riches and everything, and how they never had it, like him and Vic coming up, so they're infusing it with, an interesting quality to it.
And you mentioned the fact that he's not coming from at least one of the interpretations of the Penguin, kind of the Burgess Meredith, the top hat monocle, where it comes from wealth and basically is like a wealthy crime lord. And so here instead,
because in the Keaton Batman with Danny DeVito, he was the ugly child of a rich family.
Correct. So he had cash, but the black sheep of the family. So here he doesn't come from a wealthy family apparently, but he, and he wants that adoration. I think that he assumes come with being able to publicly flaunt your wealth. He drives this highly visible purple Maserati, even though it would probably be better for him to be more inconspicuous, frankly. But it's like there's somehow that trapping of wealth. He wants to project that image. I did see the episode titles for this season that are out, and episode 7 is entitled Top Hat. So perhaps there's some moment where he tries to adopt that as another trapping of success somehow.
Oh, I was thinking there was going to be some cartoon cat in there, but Top Cat.
Yeah. Well, that's episode 8. Yeah, so that's fine. Perfect. You get it. He's got the signature walk. In this case, they make it because he has a club foot.
Yeah.
Again, it more humanizes this guy.
And creates another connection with Vic, who has a stutter.
Right. And so there's that sense of people being underestimating Vic, underestimating Oz. With Vic, I think there's some intentional imagery comparing him to Jason Todd's Robin. So it's like Batman had his Robin. Here, Penguin has his Vic.
Oh, okay.
The Jason Todd version of Robin was originally trying to steal Bruce Wayne's hubcaps.
Right.
Yes. And then, of course, spoiler alert, but gets brutally murdered with a crowbar by the Joker. And here we see Oz intends to beat him to death with a crowbar.
Sure.
And so, seeing as how Vic brings out this mentor and some of the humanity in Oz, I think I'm leaning towards matting Vic.
Oh wow, interesting.
Much like Jason Todd, I feel like maybe not this season because I think this is at least the intention is for this to be a multi-season thing. But eventually, maybe this season, but eventually, I'm predicting that Oz makes a choice, because it's a series of Oz making choices to keep himself alive.
Sure.
Oz makes a choice that gets Vic killed. And by severing that human bond, I think somehow it solidifies his role as the villain Penguin, maybe somehow. I don't know. Anyway, I'm just saying there'll be some really life-defining moment where something he does gets Vic whatever, killed or something, and that's a huge moment in his progression.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what sort of trajectory they want to take with the character. If they're really trying to establish, here he is. At least it's not as tortured as in Gotham. where it's like, wow, they're gonna have a whole series of adventures where Batman comes along. Batman's in this world. We just only see small references to it. It does make sense that as much crime as there is in Gotham, with Batman being active, of course he can't be everywhere and know everything and foil all crime. And if he did, then wow, it would be really great for Gotham, wouldn't it?
Right.
That's the crux of it. Like, Batman does all this stuff and Gotham still sucks.
Yeah, it's like, imagine what it would be without Batman. Hey,
sure,
you've got it good, Gotham. We get actually some interesting Easter eggs in here as well. Some things get thrown in that I thought were like, huh. So particularly in the beginning when Oz breaks into the safe. The thing he really steals, he steals some jewels and stuff, but the thing he really steals is like, hey, blackmail material.
Yeah.
I kind of did like little freeze frames on the various blackmail material things. So you've got things like there's a compromising photo of the character Johnny Vitti.
Oh, right.
Who is the guy, he's the underboss that later on is like, hey, we don't need your operation anymore.
Right, I forgot. You're right.
So that obviously will come into play perhaps at some point. He's hold something over him. There's a city councilman that then pays off later. He's like, hey, let's be pals. Here's a picture of you having an affair. But the one that's the most interesting and is left just with a big, question mark is, so all of the file folders have full names. Eric Calatayud and Sebastian Haiti. Mm-hmm. And then there's this one that's just HH. And there's this old black and white photo that looks like it's apparently been sent from Belgium. It's a group of 11 guys wearing like boater hats and club jackets. And the verbiage on this black and white photo reads, Founders Club, HH, at the Geneva, 1853. So no idea what that references to. I would guess that means that there's some family where the progenitor of the family has some kind of dark secret that's being held. I don't know, but I assume that'll come to fruition at some point. That'll pay off. But I was really intrigued by the HH folder and what that means. I looked it up. I looked up one of those. There's this great like golden age of comics index where you can look up online and just see like the names of all the. So there's a lot of HH.
Oh yeah,
Nothing like really stood out. It's like, oh, that guy.
Yeah. Hank Hall. Ooh.
Yeah, must be Hank Hall. But that was an interesting, perhaps plot drop that we'll pick this up later. Then later in the episode, we get this guy. I think they're on the train, and you see this guy come by like, look, here's the real face of Gotham, and he's got this big QR code, which is an actual QR code.
Yeah, it is.
And it takes you to a site. And so what you end up getting when you get on this site is, and I'll put the screenshots up. But it's basically like Riddler's followers,
right?
Who were in the film. You saw their names, but it's their group chat. And then there's a link in the group chat to an article about Alberto Falcone taking over after his murdered father.
Okay.
Now, interestingly, that article is dated September 19th.
Oh.
And it seems pretty current, right? It's like, Carmine Falcone's been murdered and his son's stepping out. And that just happened in the storyline, so that we assume that's, okay, September 19th is roughly somewhere right where this story's current. And that's important because when Oz hacks into Alberto's phone and he learns about the shipment of this new revolution in the drug trade, that shipment is due on November 18th. Which means that Oz basically has, if I'm right, has 2 months to kind of turn this into his big score.
Okay.
Meanwhile, that Riddler group chat mentions we start in the streets tonight at 9 p.m. So what I'm guessing is maybe likely sometime as early as the next episode, there will be some big street uprising. Maybe in those FEMA camps that we saw that they were dealing with the flood. Okay. And then the delivery of this new illicit substance, whatever it is, will likely take place, I think, maybe late in the season. And maybe that's kind of where the Penguin really ascends in some way, because he makes use of this, whatever this is.
Oh, I assumed it was a different kind of drug that was better than drops.
What do you think of the character of Vic?
No, I like him. I believe, him in that position, basically. How things are bad enough in Gotham, and here he is already committing a criminal act when he gets caught. So the fact that, besides begging for his life, what convinces Penguin to take him on is him saying, "Look, I want to be more than I am."
Yep. I just need a chance, which resonates with
Penguin,
Oz,
right? But it's I mean, I can't imagine that he's not going to be pushed into doing things that make him really question his choices.
Yep.
I can believe that he'll end up dying. I can believe that. Or they'll make a point of the point when the story will be,
maybe he steps away, or like I can't. This world is so dangerous and so.
No,
bad,
I was thinking that something in him dies, and he really decides to take on, those qualities and really.
He being
Vic, something in Vic dies.
Okay.
Where it's like any goodness in him,
okay.
where he really does things that harm and hurt people. That's all.
He goes from chaotic to evil.
Yeah.
Perhaps. We'll be back talking about episode 2. Thank you as always, Paul. Appreciate it, good sir.
No problem.
And we'll talk to everybody next time.
Bye.